Hello and welcome to the Breeders' Cup edition of the Friday show presented by Woodbine. This weekend on Sunday, Woodbine is offering the Coronation Futurity and the Grade 2 Autumn Stakes. And of course, you can watch and wager on the Breeders' Cup World Championships from that wonderful facility in Toronto, Canada. There you go. I'm happy to be joined by, as usual, Joe Nevills, bloodstock editor of the Paulick Report. And this week we've brought in a heavy hitter from the Pink Sheet and many other things, Andrew Champagne. Andrew, what else do you got going on besides the Pink Sheet?
I appreciate you guys having me. This is an honor and a privilege, as always. I'm a content producer at Katina Media, also doing a lot of other freelance horse racing stuff. And this week is going to be just a blast. Breeders' Cup is Christmas morning for horse players. You've got 14 world-class races, some really good undercards, lots of places to pick your spots, and we're going to have some fun going through these races.
Well, let's start off by talking about the elephant in the room, the elephant being Flightline. Is this horse beatable? He's not bettable, but is he beatable?
Well, the thing with Flightline is they call them prohibitive favorites for a reason, right? There are going to be people saying he's 2-5. I can't bet 2-5. I understand that. And every horse is beatable in some form or fashion. He could fall flat on his face out of the starting gate. Is that likely? Probably not. The advice that I give, if you're not crazy about Flightline at that price, just skip the race, grab a drink, grab a snack, and watch. It's going to be a situation where if Flightline shows up at anywhere close to his best, everyone is not just running for second. They're running to stay within 10 lengths of that one.
I think it all depends on race tactics here. I think Life is Good is probably the most able horse that Flightline has faced to stay neck and neck with him, at least through the early stages of things. If Life is Good wants to test his own mettle and see if he can keep pace with him, maybe he, can stare him in the eye long enough to defeat him. Maybe he tuckers him out enough to, get like a rich strike sneaking up there and getting between the two of them and ruining the parade. I don't necessarily know if this is likely, but if I'm trying to beat Flightline and my goal is only to defeat him and not even get my own horse in front, I think Life is Good has to send and see what he can do. That's the only way. He's the only horse that can keep up. Maybe.
If you like Flightline, you can single him in pick 3, pick 4.
Yeah, make your money elsewhere.
Try to free square for people. But the scenario that you painted there, Joe, of Flightline having to chase Life is Good, hooking him maybe at the 3/8 pole. They go at it for a quarter mile. A horse like Epicenter, who's a very good 3-year-old, getting a few pounds, and he could run right past him. You mentioned Rich Strike doing the same thing, but I think Epicenter maybe has the best upset chance in this race, for my mind.
I don't hate it.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. Epicenter is probably the most likely winner. I don't like Life is Good at all. I don't think he wants to go 1.25 miles. I understand why he's here. He wins this race. He's horse of the year, and he's a huge stallion prospect. 1.25 miles just seems too far.
He's already a huge stallion prospect with his pedigree. So all he can
huge
do is
in all capital letters.
Yeah, huge. All right, so Flightline, maybe a cinch, maybe not a cinch, but let's each take a race where we think we have a sure winner. And then we'll talk about some long shots too. My sure winner is oddly enough for a trainer who's won a ton of Breeders' Cup races, but never on the turf. And that's Bob Baffert. We're going to kick this off with the first Breeders' Cup race on Friday in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. And I like Speedboat Beach, 6-1 morning line. I just think he's the speed of the race. Baffert excels with this kind of a horse. He's got such a deep bench with dirt 2-year-olds that they ran this one, broke his maiden very nicely at Del Mar, and then ran him on the turf. He ran big. I think this horse, unless there's some European that comes out of the gate flying, I think this horse clears early and wins.
It's a really fun race to handicap. The Juvenile Turf Sprint this year, I couldn't make heads or tails of anything. The tote board for that is going to be absolutely fascinating because you've got a Wesley Ward runner, you've got the Euros, you've got this one, you've also got Tyler's Tribe, who's a heck of a story.
Mm-hmm.
It might well be a case where you try to whittle that 14-horse field down to a little bit and then try to find your overlay. And if you like Speedboat Beach, I think you're going to get that 6-1 morning line price right because of that big and the fact that there's no huge favorite. And that's what the Breeders' Cup's all about, right? Trying to find that value.
Yeah. So Andrew, who do you got? Who's your lock of the Breeders' Cup?
Well, I'm going to stay in the same barn, and I'm going to go to Saturday in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile. I'm not going to say the name of the sponsor in case we wind up losing monetization for this. So you guys
Good man. Good looking out. Good looking out.
I try. Number 6, Laurel River, is a horse that's peaking at the right time. 2 for 2 this year, hasn't run a whole heck of a lot, but when he does, he's very, very good. I loved his win in the Pat O'Brien over a very good field. American Theorem isn't without a shot in the Breeders' Cup Sprint. Senor Buscador came right back to win the ACAC in impressive fashion and goes in the Dirt Mile. Gunite, I don't know if he wants to go 2 turns. Cody's Wish, I don't know if he wants to go 2 turns. I know Laurel River can go 2 turns and has the speed to be up close without necessarily needing to be on the lead. 9-2 on the morning line hits me as a significant overlay. I think based on the numbers, based on the way he's going, you could make the argument he should be favored. A lot of my action on Saturday is going to be going through that one, and I really hope he gets there for Bob Baffert or Rod Ortiz and an ownership group in Juddmonte that no stranger to winning big races. So would not be
I've heard of him.
Me at all.
Well, you're talking about a horse that should be favored going out of the gate, but my lock of the Breeders' Cup is one who absolutely will be favored going out of the gate. That is Golden Pal in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint. This horse just has that dog in him. He does not lose at Keeneland. He does not lose in America on the turf. He breaks in a manner that makes the other greatest American turf sprinters in the country right now look like they're flat-footed. I just don't see any scenario, there's no other horse is going to touch Golden Pal in this race as long as the jockey stays on all the way around the track. I think he's got a dogged tenacity to him that just he refuses to lose, whether he gets out quick or whether he breaks slowly. And for his swan song, I think Golden Pal goes home a winner. Question for you guys, though. If Golden Pal wins on Saturday in the turf sprint, he'll be a 3-time Breeders' Cup winner. Turf sprinters don't typically get in the Hall of Fame, but is there a case against him other than Americans don't like turf sprinters if he's a 3-time Breeders' Cup winner?
Well, I'll start by saying, how long has horse racing had turf sprints anyways in North America? It's a fairly, it's like designated hitters or something like that in baseball. There's not there were no designated hitters in the 50s and 60s. So, you can't look back fondly at those great DHs from then. So, turf sprint, American racing has become turf sprints. And so I think in the future, there will be a lot of turf sprinters that are eligible or that are, qualified, I guess, for the Hall of Fame. Sprinters in general are looked down upon by Hall of Fame voters who are generally snobs, especially the nominating committee are a bunch of snobs. But, they'll be replaced by people who aren't snobs, and then turf sprinters will get in.
Yeah, I think Golden Pal eventually does get in. Not just sprinters looked down upon for the Hall of Fame. Guys, it took Lore 20 years to get in. So It wouldn't shock me if it takes a little bit of time. But here's a fun comparison for you. If we're talking about designated hitters and turf sprinters, does that make Golden Pal like an Edgar Martinez or something like that? I kind of like that.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it. Well, we've got our locks of the Breeders' Cup squared away. I'm going to take a turn here with my long shot pick for the Breeders' Cup, and I'm going to the filly and mare sprint for this one. I've got my eye on the Japanese horse, Chain of Love. This is a horse that we know how much damage the Japanese contingent can do in the Breeders' Cup. We saw that last year. They can win with strong horses. They can win at prices. You have to pay attention to when the Japanese ship a horse over. Chain of Love comes into this race off a nose win in a Japanese prep. That was her first time going 7 furlongs on the dirt. It's going to be a 7 furlong race in the filly and mare sprint. Before that, had some local losses, but one thing that was really keyed in on, Chain of Love ran in Saudi Arabia and ran in Maidan on the Dubai World Cup undercard against male competition, and held her own, ran very well here, ran third in the Riyadh Dirt Sprint, ran fourth in the Dubai Gold Jaheen, which might be one of the best sprint races in the world. And there are no other horses in this field that I find are quite as intimidating as we're going to see in a world-class field like that. Echo Zulu is starting out in the parking lot. I don't know if CC is the same horse that won last year. There's certainly not a Gamine in this field. It's going to be wide open. And for a price, I believe Chain of Love is 30-1 on the morning line. I'll take that. I'll play that. Absolutely.
I like your price. I don't like your horse. I don't think the Japanese don't really specialize in sprints, and especially dirt sprints. And she doesn't like winning races. She's only won a few races, I think. So,
but she won the last one.
Right. But if they are indeed superior horses that they're breeding in Japan now, and all indications are that they are breeding sensational horses for classic distances and even a little bit shorter, maybe they're that good. But I don't see her getting the job done here.
That's what I call them a long shot.
Not though. I mean, that filly and mare sprint is loaded, and whatever you like, you're going to get a price in that particular race. I agree with you on CC. Loved her last year with the pace setup. That keyed a very, very nice day for me and a very nice early pick 4. But I'm not sure she's the same horse she was last year, and she might need to be in order to beat this field. It's a really good group.
So, Andrew, you're up. Who's your long shot at the Breeders' Cup?
Sure. So we're going to hop back to Friday for this one. Now, there are a couple of 20-1 shots that I like as horses you want to use and consider throughout the 2-day program. Battle of Normandy in the Juvenile Turf, Obezos in the Sprint, couple of others. But as far as horses that I think are the ones to beat, that are going to be prices, guys, I really like Be Your Best in the Juvenile Fillies Turf. Horse number 6 in race number 8. This horse ran 2 phenomenal races at this place right back here, Saratoga Racecourse, over the summer. Won those 2 races by a combined 7 lengths. If you haven't seen a replay of the debut, go back and watch that. She saves no ground at any point in that particular race, and she circles the entire field for a trainer in Horacio De Paz, who's a very good horseman, but doesn't have his first-time starters fully cranked up all that much. Wins the PG Johnson, comes back in the Miss Grillo, which was run over a bog at Aqueduct. To me, all of the Aqueduct preps on dirt and turf are total throwouts. I don't know how much you're going to be able to get out of those races because of the track condition. Toss out that race, and guys, what are you left with? You're left with a horse that's been very impressive in both of the starts over firm or good going. Jose Ortiz sees fit to ride. She's going to get some pace to run at. I really, really like her in this spot. 8-1 on the morning line, and I wouldn't be shocked if she drifts up. If she does, I'll be very, very happy.
I don't blame you there. I feel like for the turf races in the Breeders' Cup, people tend to respect the American horses less when there's an international contingent coming in. So I feel like there's a little bit of an odds boost unless there's an absolutely towering horse. I think you get that. I think that's an absolutely fair price.
USA, USA, USA.
I like your pick, but that's a deep race with a lot of Europeans that are question marks. I know Meditate for Aidan O'Brien, it's only 4-1, but that's a filly that could do some damage there, stretching out. That's a tough race. So I'm going to I'll sweep the card, I hope, on Saturday with Broom as my long shot special in the Breeders' Cup Turf. A good 8th in the Arc de Triomphe. There actually is such a thing as a good 8th.
As well as one can have a good 8th in the Arc, yes.
This is a horse that never gets out of the gate, it seems like, but in the Arc broke really well and challenged the pace on a boggy surface for the first mile and a quarter. Unlike last year in the Breeders' Cup, when Broome lagged pretty far back and made this big move going into the turn, took the lead, looked home a winner, and far on the outside comes Yiver to win the race in the final 16th of a mile. Broome has not looked good this year, but Aidan O'Brien said that this is the race they've been thinking about all year. I know Aidan O'Brien has lost more Breeders' Cup races than any trainer in history, but he's also won quite a few, and he's got a strong contingent here this year, and I think Broome is the upset winner of the turf.
I liked Broome a lot last year. If you pause that race at the quarter pole, he looks home and cooled out. And I don't know if he moved too early or what, but the one thing I will say, and the reason I'm using this horse, the last 2 races were over very soft turf courses over in Europe. I think he likes firmer going, I think he's going to outrun his odds. Certainly a horse that I think presents some value at or near that morning line price.
And another thing to keep an eye on, Broome ran 11th in the ARC last year before going into the Breeders' Cup turf. So moving up a little bit, finished 8th in the ARC this year. So maybe that little extra, maybe we're heading that form in the right direction this time around.
Well, the reason I liked him last year is because the same reason. With the heavy going, I just thought that race was a throwout and that this horse would do much better over firm going. If he gets that kind of ground on Saturday, I think he's got a shot.
I think the ground's going to be as firm as you want on Breeders' Cup. There's been so little rain in Kentucky for the last couple months, really, that Keeneland has done a good job keeping that ground hydrated, keeping the grass green, but still you can't beat natural rainwater, and we just haven't had that in a long time here. I think there's going to be no question it'll be a firm surface.
Broome does show a win on soft turf, but O'Brien did say that he thinks the horse prefers firm going. So well, that is it for this week's Friday show. We hope everybody has a successful Breeders' Cup at the windows with your ADW accounts. Don't forget to restock those accounts if you need some money in them. And we'll see you next week. Andrew, thanks for joining us. Joe, thank you. And good luck, everybody, at the Breeders' Cup.
Support award-winning independent horse industry journalism and become a Paulick Report Insider on Patreon. For as little as $5 a month, insiders get access to exclusive Q&As with Paulick Report staff, insight behind our editorial process, exclusive opinions and on-site analysis, Paulick Report merch, and more. This is not a paywall. The website you know and love will always be the same. But if you want more, and you want to make our coverage even better, visit patreon.com/Paulick Report and become a Paulick Report Insider today.